Hi Harshit, how are you?
Hey, hi, Pankaj. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and thanks for taking time and connecting with me on this call.
It's my pleasure, sir. Thanks.
Let us start. First thing, can you brief about Appknox? In a nutshell. So we get to know more.
Sure, sure. So, Appknox is a mobile application security testing company. We have built a platform that helps enterprises, Fortune 500 companies, any company that has upwards of 30, 40 mobile applications, make sure that their applications are secured as and when they are releasing the subsequent versions of their app. So that is the main offering that we help these enterprises secure. And we started in 2014 and work with like 500 plus enterprises globally, helping them secure their mobile application. Yep. And some of them include some of the Fortune 500 companies, some of the top banks. For example, in India, we work out of 4 out of 5 top banks in India. So private sector banks again. But yeah.
So, is this predominantly into mobile applications, or you also look into your normal desktop applications, or is still purely a mobile app?
So we have uh, focused on the niche of mobile app security. That is our forte as well, and that is where like me and Shubho had expertise. Shubho is the co-founder along with me. He takes care of product and security side of things. So he had been doing research before we started on Appknox on mobile security side. He used to give security sessions at global conferences, primarily in conferences like Nalcon and other security conference in US and other places, Black Hat and all, if you have heard about them. So he was one of the early movers in mobile app security, and around 2009-10, if I remember it right, he had done few trainings in US around mobile app security, where a lot of these executive CISOs and all used to come and understand about security side of things. So when we started working on Appknox, we already had a good understanding of mobile space, and we realized that this is growing exponentially, and that's where we started focusing on it and built a niche around that.
So predominantly you cover vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, right? That's your forte at
Yeah.
large. So can you brief in terms of the testing which is done? I mean, in terms of the solution, is more a cloud based or on premise? How you are serving the customers?
Yeah. So primarily we offer our cloud platform that's used by enterprises. But as I mentioned, we do work with some of the Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and all. So cloud is not acceptable at some of these companies. So we have done on-premise. We have done a couple of on-premises in Middle East, in India, in Europe. Again, primarily these are either Fortune 500 companies where very critical apps are getting uploaded and they're not fine with cloud, or government agencies or banks. So these are three primary domain where on-premise is required. Apart from that, the rest of the customers are on our cloud. So if I say that currently we have done roughly around 25 odd on-prem out of 300 odd active customers, we have served 500 plus enterprises till yet.
And,
Yeah.
and largely when customers or enterprises are using your services or solution, what has been the major concerns that drives them to leverage services or products from Appknox?
Yeah. So when we so the offering that we have for these customers, the primarily the challenge that they have is around so they have their regular release of mobile app security, and the traditional way of doing VAPT is that you go to any of these managed security service provider and you tell them that you need mobile app security testing. So they would take the app and run it through in manual process, and that's the services bit that comes into picture. Now the timeline in that is roughly around 5 to 7 days that it takes, and with the kind of release timeline that we're talking about mobile app security, roughly we see that 1 to 2 weeks there is a new update coming. So 5 to 7 days of security testing in 1 to 2 weeks update is definitely not possible. So what till now companies used to do was either skip security testing or run it in parallel and look at those issues in the subsequent release. But that would mean that the apps that are on the Play Store might be vulnerable. And if user is not updating, the particular user is using the vulnerable app, which can lead to a lot of data loss and all of those things. So what we did over here was we automated the security testing. So up to 80% of the entire VAPT is automated, and rest PT can be done in 1 to 2 days. And with that, we make sure that 80% is getting completed within 90 minutes. So as soon as app is getting built, as and when developers release the app, immediately they get to know that, okay, these are 7 places my app is broken, and they can go back and fix it then and there and release the app rather than it getting delayed further for security checks to happen.
Largely, when you look at your platform, is it more used from Android-based applications or iOS? What has been the share or usage pattern you have seen over the years?
Yeah. Ideally, I think that split still remains as 50-50. The major reason is as a user, sometimes we feel that, okay, if we are using iPhone, the app is supposed to be more secure, but that's not the case. The whole reason is when it comes to Play Stores, they will only check that, okay, this app is not a malware, and that's it. They will not really look that, okay, if you are using Flipkart, is Flipkart vulnerable or not. They will not really look into that kind of depth because they like it is not possible. Any of the Play Store is managing upwards of 5 to 7 million of apps, and looking at and ensuring security for that many number of apps is impossible. It's not humanly possible. And with whatever checks they do are basically at configuration level only, so they are very very basic check. Still, in that case, iOS apps are definitely more secure. But when it comes to business level apps and all, that's not the case. On contrary, it is at the same, or at times we have seen that some of the apps are a little more vulnerable in iPhone than Android. The major reason is overall the development that happens on Android is Java driven. In iPhone, it's driven by other technologies that leads to more gaps in the app over there. So overall, I would say that vulnerability and the app split remains 50-50. There is no difference in whether we are scanning Android or iOS. The way we do and all is definitely different, but overall it remains the same.
Since you touched on the app stores, so how different it is, say an enterprise doing the testing using your platform vis-a-vis a Google App Store or Apple's store. Is there some similarity or differentiation at large in terms of knowing how safe or the vulnerability aspect of any application?
Yes, definitely. So I'll give you an example itself. For example, we do work with some of the Fortune 100 companies as well, and for them, they are using some of these common apps. For example, LinkedIn and all of those, and these are scanned by app stores in a way. But still, when it comes to enterprises, they have to ensure that if their internal data or anything, for example, Workday is one of the example. Workday is internal app that's used by enterprise team members as a workforce management app. Now if any of the bigger enterprises using that, they have to make sure that their internal data that resides on what team member is there, what is their salary, and all of those aspects is not leaked to their competitor, because that will be very very critical data for them to lose on. And if they rely only on Play Store, Play Store will only check what permissions app is using, and is it encrypted, SSL, and some basic check. Now, leaving it on that itself is very risky bit. And Workday also allows these enterprises to do a further VAPT at enterprise end to ensure that their internal data is secure. This is one example, but similarly, there are a lot of apps that these enterprises use. So we, as a company, when we work with these enterprises, we make sure that we check these apps on behalf of that enterprise and tell them that, okay, their data is secured or not. Mostly, we have found that these bigger companies are quite secured because they go through regressive testing. But still, when an enterprise is looking at that app for their internal compliance bit and ensuring that the data is secure, they have to get it done using a platform like ours, because it covers the 360 degree of the mobile app security.
And do you also offer services while, some companies or enterprise might be using your platform, but they would also need certain different kind of services for particular needs. So are you also offering services to the customers?
We do. So we do it in two models. The primary is when it comes to mobile security only, because a lot of these enterprises, when they use your platform, they want this manual PT also to be done. That I said will take only 2 days, and they don't have internal bandwidth or capability. In some of the cases, it's not humanly possible. For example, one of our biggest enterprise that we work with has got upwards of 650 mobile apps globally, and they are managed and built by separate teams. They have outsourced most of the development. Now if that company has to look after security testing, they would need a big team of pen testers coordinating with all of it. And since we have a platform, so we have platform driven services that makes it really easy to manage and inform those end party teams or end third party companies that okay, their app is vulnerable at this point, and make it fixed. So we offer that. The second part of services is where our is mobile. Then there is web. There is cloud. There are other areas, and a lot of enterprises or smaller companies want a single vendor offering everything. So we have partnered with other companies that offer web, cloud, and all, and we position it as front ending all of it along with our partners across. And we do work with these MSSPs and channels, anyways, where they sell mobile app security that we have, and we sell their web, cloud, and everything that we have. So that enables overall a bigger ticket size business for us as well, and also exposure to their clientele by giving our mobile app security suite to them.
Can you name some of the customers which are, are allowed for you to name them?
Sure. I can name. I think the few that have also
I
given.
mean, few within India, if possible, and few in the region, so people can, understand the clients that you serve.
So in India, for example, we work with Yes Bank, Axis Bank, ICICI, Kotak Securities. These are some of the banks. Apart from that, we do work with Zensar over here, a few other enterprises. Uh, we do work with government agencies. Again, I'm not sure if we can name them. Apart from that, we do work with a lot of government agencies in Middle East. Again, I cannot name it because we work with channel partners in that region and a lot of banks. Globally, we do work with Singapore Airlines, Unilever. Again, the majority of security team sits out of India, but we work with their central team based out of UK. Apart from that, there are other Fortune 500 companies like Linde Energy, uh, Singapore Airlines, few more. I'm not sure if we can name all of them. Then few government agencies in Europe as well. Then in sectors, if I say banks, I mentioned in, for example, in Middle East, in UAE region, we work with 4 banks. Again, I cannot name any of them, and all of them are through our third party channel partners that we work with them.
So you did share good share, number of customers that you are serving in the government as well as the private sector. So my question is, how has been the growth, say, in last 1.5 year? We have seen a lot of, the COVID, lot of movement in terms of, usage around mobile application has enormous growth has been there. So how much demand you have, encountered, or you have served overall?
So if I talk specifically about last 1.5 years, the growth has been like exponential. I think overall we were growing at a decent 1.5 to 2x year on year, but in last 1 year, if I say specifically, it's been upwards of 2.5x. Not only that, a lot of enterprises that we are interacting these days, they have realized that mobile app security is important, and government agencies specifically. So that is one of the segment that had opened up for us a year back only. So we had closed our first government ministry in Middle East in almost a year back. It was in April last year, and post that we have almost closed, I think, 7 or 8 ministries in last 1 year, including one in India and a few in Middle East and Europe. So ministries have realized that end customers or people will use a lot of mobile apps. And in COVID, if you had seen, we had COVID, so a lot of dependency on that. That was specific to India. Similarly, every country had their own task force app or something that was launched, and everything was driven by mobile. And every mobile app had many personal information. So government agencies had to make sure that they have to take some step to ensure security, and that's where we step in. We help them manage the quantity of apps that they have to, and that's our expertise. So that was one of the thing. Apart from that, a lot of banks and all that we used to close before pre-COVID, we had to travel a lot. For example, we had closed Singapore Airlines, so I had to personally travel to Singapore and interact with the CISO, understand their problem, and then we closed it. But nowadays, in last 2 years, I think we have closed upwards of 50, 70, $100,000 deals sitting out of India. So that has transformed it a lot. And these again are all Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies that I'm talking about, where they have realized that there is a problem they need to solve, and our platform provides that to them at like very fast speed with all the integration and everything.
And since you mentioned about CISO, so when the customer comes to you in terms of what are the two or three major challenges or concerns that CISO would share with you when they are building the internal application or for the customer or for the business. So can you name or pinpoint few major challenges the CISOs are mostly talking or discussion with you?
Yep. So primarily, again, I'll try to bucket it in two to three different segments, because all the enterprises are at different stage of security maturity when they come to us. So the first one is where they have not set up anything. So in that case, the major bottlenecks that they face is that they are not sure of what checks have to be done, what security measures have to be taken, and they are not aware if they are even vulnerable or not. So with that kind of situation, we generally say that, okay, get started with one-time engagement with us, where you work with us for 3 months, understand how your app is, how your team is able to understand and fix it, and then if you see a value, you look at long-term engagement. And we have seen that that works very effectively, because these companies don't have much of process, and when we bring our automation, we have that onboarding journey for them that brings their entire team one by single approach, because it's not only security team, technical team, development team, product team, everybody has to come on board and make sure that security becomes part of their development lifecycle. So that journey of 3 months enables them to do that, and post that we have seen upwards of 80 to 90% people moving to our annual engagement. The second is where they're working with traditional companies that I spoke about earlier, where they go to them, they get their VAPT for mobile app done, and their report shared. So the challenges over there is time. Time is one of it, that their release cycles are getting delayed. And second is definitely the cost involved, because they have to put their team. Then for every engagement, they have to pay to these vendors the price for whatever man days they are putting in. And third is definitely again the broken process, because it does not align in their CI/CD and all. And companies are transitioning in that CI/CD mode. So again, for them, we say that, okay, you come to a platform, you take annual engagement, where we will ensure that CI/CD and everything is done within a month. And post CI/CD, every release goes through their security lifecycle, and it's part and parcel of their development DevOps engine. So that is primary thing, which where a lot of enterprises now are transitioning to, where there is a process, but they want to move into DevOps because it's more agile, more fast, and that's required as the enterprises grow. And the third is where they have everything. They are already using some of the tool or some of our competitor. So challenge over there is in-depth in security testing. So there are few competitors who offer mobile, web, everything as a portal together. Again, they don't have a niche of mobile security. And a lot of most of Fortune 500 companies that we have come from that bucket, where they were using one of our competitor, but they were not happy because they had a lot of offering, but when it comes to niche of mobile, it was not very deep. There were always security test cases missed over there, so they could not 100% rely on it. And we say that we focus on this niche, we are the best in it. We are rated by Gartner also as one of the top vendor or recommended vendor in hype cycle of 2021 that they released last year. So we focus in that niche and make sure that we are the best. So that is primary thing that differentiates us from other competitors or any other player in the space.
So would it be right to say it's not yet fully mature, the entire mobile application testing as a space, or it's where do you see it is moving currently?
So it is matured. I won't say that it is right to say that it is not matured. But when it comes to overall enterprises and all, I think they are still going in the transition to make it part of DevOps. Whole, if you have heard about DevSecOps in general, so DevSecOps itself is something that has picked up in last 2 to 3 years. And ideally, I think as per Gartner also, it's said that by 2023 to 24, this would become part of that hype. In hype, it will be the normal thing where every enterprise will be there or is already doing it. But now is the time where the transition is going on, where they have started looking at security as part of DevOps. So it's not mobile security, but the entire security thing is now getting pushed into DevOps as much as it can be. And that transition is going on in mobile as well. And overall, the usage and dependency on mobile has grown in last decade as such, the whole since 2010, I guess. And in that, the importance has grown exponentially, and enterprises have acknowledged that from time to time. But I think when it comes to the whole application security suite as an offering and mobile app security as an offering, that is the maturity that they are again realizing it, or have started taking it a little more seriously.
And how is the competition playing in the space?
We have the majority of product based competitors, if I say, that we have are focused on Europe and US. There are two players who are very focused on mobile security only, and both of them are based out in US, headquartered in US, and have a decent clientele in US and Europe. Uh, 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 but again, I think the differentiator that we have against them is, number one is that we have set up a device farm over here in Singapore and India, where we have these real devices that customers interact with, versus they use simulators. Again, these are technical jargons, so pardon me for that. But simulator is basically not the real device, but image of device. So there is limitations when we talk about, for example, there is a banking app. Now, banking app has a dependency that it has to send us SMS to verify two-factor authentication. So in simulators, you cannot do because it won't have SIM card. When we put those real devices at bank location to perform at on-premise, they can do that. Similarly, if in Middle East, I'm talking about a ministry where they are using an app similar to Aadhaar. Okay. And over there also that verification has to be done. So for that, we have deployed a device with SIM card in Middle East ministry on-premise. And whenever they test that app, that 2FA will happen and it will go through its normal process. So this is the key differentiator that we have. We have real device farm. Our competitors have an image of device farm that they run on. So there are challenges. They cannot do 100% testing, and that makes us a little different. And this is the case that took us maximum time in building what we have today. It took us almost 2.5 years from our inception to come up with our platform, the first feel and look of the platform, because that whole thing was heavy on engineering. We had to reinvent a lot of things that were there on how to do mobile app security testing. So it's engineering heavy product that we have, and that differentiates us against our competitors that are there. The second set of competitors that we have are services based company, as I told. And I think I've already explained the differentiators against them, where we have automated, they have manual, so it takes its own speed, time for them to deliver, versus we automate 80% of that. But we have somehow managed to balance that out, because we go ahead and partner with these kind of companies. We say we'll offer you a white label automated platform, where you can go and cater to your end customer. So the whole idea behind doing that was that our objective is that within 5 years, every mobile app that goes through security testing should have Appknox used for its testing. So that is the vision that we are driving at. So we are opening it up for channel partners, for MSSPs to start using our platform and deliver their end customer secured app at faster pace.
And can you tell us about overall organization, and in 2022, what is the plan that you are looking in terms of number of people or funding, or the overall strategy that you want to drive for the business this year?
Yeah. So we are currently a 40-member team, and we have grown almost 100% since last year. Where we are roughly around 21 member in February last year. We are currently a 40-member team, and we are still growing. So currently we have upwards of 15 to 20 open positions. So by this year end, I think we'll roughly be around 70 to 75 member team. And we are profitable, so we have not raised funding in last 5 years. The last funding we had raised was in 2016 from Singapore-based venture capital. There was a $750,000 that was required for us to do R&D and build our app. So since the day we got into business, we are profitable, and we are making sure that we maintain that thing, and that validates that overall customers are getting the value that we are selling them. And our churn and everything is negligible. Our NRR, the net dollar retention, is 100%, like more than 100%. So overall, the same customer is paying us more every subsequent year. So we are making sure that the value that they get from our platform keeps on increasing. So with that kind of growth, we are quite positive that we, even if we don't go at raising the next round for funding, we'll be able to grow at 2.5 3x year on year. And if in case we go ahead and raise round, ideally the kind of growth that we would look at is roughly around 8 to 10x. But as for the moment, we are focused on growing on capital efficient manner. That is something that we have been very focused on. We believe in value SaaS, where you make sure that you keep on creating and generating value for the company, for stakeholders, and for the end customers in right fashion. So, yep.
And do you see scope of expansion, like offices in other region, or how is that
Yeah.
thing?
So we already have our offices in 3 regions: US, India, and Singapore. But definitely, as I mentioned, Middle East is very big market for us. It constitutes of upwards of 40% of revenue as for today as well for us. So we are looking at setting up a small office over there as well. Apart from that, the other regions that are significant for us are like other Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Hong Kong, then Singapore, where we have got quite a good number of customers, enterprises, government agencies that we are working with. So we are not yet sure of whether we'll open or expand in those regions, but we do have our channel partner reach in those regions that we are relying on, and rest of the things we are able to do from India itself. We have a team based out of couple of regions. For example, our team is based in Bangladesh, in Africa, but when it comes to overall like sales team, ideally, as I told, that we are able to do like selling these enterprise customers from India itself on virtual calls. So it's not very significant that we need to have offices in all the regions. Middle East also we are opening because we have a significant amount of revenue that's coming from there, and there is a demand from a lot of these government agencies. So if we have a small team that is based out of there, it will become a little more easier to manage it.
But is large portion of business driven to partners, or how is that, or is
It
it
is.
direct?
It is. So we are very heavily channel driven. I think roughly around 50 to 60% of our revenue comes from channel. Rest 40% is direct. Our channel team.
Can you name few of the partners that you regularly work with?
Yeah.
Channel partners.
We have, like, for example, in Indonesia, we work with a partner called as RML. They are a cybersecurity service providers, and with them we have worked with three of the top banks in Indonesia. This include BCA, Bank of Mandiri over there. It's again one of the biggest bank over there. So similarly in Middle East, we work with 5 to 6 channel partners. They include few of them are like Paramount Computer Systems. There are a few more which has helped us close these government agencies and banks in that region. In Africa also, we work with 3 channel partners. In LATAM, we work with 1 channel partner. In Europe, we work with single 1 channel partner. So similarly, we have in Sri Lanka, we work with 1 channel partner, one Bangladesh. So these are some geographies where we are working with them to cater to clients over there.
Uh, Harshit, with that we are done. And thanks for time for this particular call and sharing, insights about the company and the business. So thanks a lot. And it
Thank-
was nice talking to you.
Same here, Pankaj. Thank you.
Thanks.